What's going on, guys? Conviction 454 here, and in this video I wanted to talk about the CompTIA A plus 1002 exam that I just took yesterday actually for the second time. I actually took the exam 4 days prior to yesterday for the first time, and I have to say the 1002 exam was definitely a lot more, well, maybe not a lot more, but definitely more difficult in terms of the wording of the questions, as well as the just, I guess, for me, in my particular case, there are just some objectives that I really didn't have a full grasp on. And so when I initially failed the exam, the first score that I got was a 653. Of course, you need 700 to pass, so that means I needed to get an additional 47 points in order to pass it. And so I figured if I just do some review with Professor Mester's videos, which is exactly what I did, I could probably go on ahead and retake the test within a few days, and I ended up passing with a 704. So yeah, that makes me A plus certified now. And honestly, when I was taking the test for the second time, I it's I really started to get, bad vibes towards CompTIA and the way they seem to lay out their exams, because I've been told this for quite a while, but CompTIA exams, they almost seem like they're designed to make sure that you don't pass. And I'm really starting to see that, because just some of the questions and how they're worded, and the fact that I've noticed that there were quite a few questions on the exam that seem to have multiple correct answers, but they want to make sure that you pick the answer that they believe is the most accurate, or the one that's deemed the correct answer. And I think in terms of, from a practicality standpoint, uh, that's not really a good way to, make an exam and to try and get somebody to showcase what they know about IT, or even just the specific objectives that they want you to understand in order to become A plus certified. And so really in this video, I just wanted to go over uh, my general thoughts about the exam, about the CompTIA A plus, some methods that I personally use to prepare for both exams, and how I ultimately become A plus certified. So to kick it off, like I said, I already mentioned that I don't really like the layout of the exam. I don't like how it's worded, and I just don't think from a practical standpoint it's really a good way to measure a future tech's ability to, or not even just for future techs, for people that have been in the industry for a little bit of time already, like me, for example. When I took the A plus exam, um, I came in with about a year and a half of experience, so I'm still fairly entry level. Um, I've started off working on a help desk. I'm technically still working on a help desk, but I'm here in the Atlanta area, and I worked on the IT service desk for Amtrak for a few months on a contract. And then I worked for a company called Medicus IT. They were a managed service provider. I was making about $20 an hour there. And that's really where I would say the bulk of my experience came from, working in a managed service provider environment. In those type of environments is when you really start to gain exposure to a lot of different technologies. For me, Active Directory, Office 365 administration, Exchange Server administration, hardware and software deployment, a little bit of networking and security here and there. You kind of just do everything in a managed service environment. So that's really where the bulk of my experience came from. And I just recently got a job offer from a company called One Digital Health and Benefits. They're bringing me along as a IT support engineer, and they're paying me 50K a year with good benefits. So I'm definitely definitely excited to jump into that role, especially very early on in my career. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for that. I'm excited to learn some new technologies, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. But anyways, back to talking about the A plus. Some ways that I personally prepared for the exam is I went on Udemy and I took the I think yeah, Mike Myers is his A plus course for the 1001 and the 1002. I watched all of his videos, took notes on each video, and studied those notes, of course. And then I went to a website called Cert Blaster. They're a fairly popular CompTIA A plus preparatory website that you can use to. Uh, they have hundreds and hundreds of questions that you can answer that are fairly similar to that of the CompTIA A plus exams actual questions. They have a few performance-based questions on there. Not a whole lot, but they have a few. And I would say that was definitely good practice for me because I couldn't really find any performance-based questions anywhere other than Cert Blaster. And I'm sure there's some other practice exams out there that have them, but if you were to just Google, performance-based questions and try and get some for free, you're gonna run out of luck unless you find memory dumps somewhere. I think someone named Jason Dion also has some practice exams with performance-based questions on there, and Professor Messer. And speaking of Professor Messer, I actually used his course notes as well as some of his practice exams, and he had some performance-based questions on his as well. So that was really more so for the 1002. Now for the 1001, I would say Cert Blaster made the 1001 extremely easy for me, especially the multiple choice questions. They were pretty self-explanatory and they were very identical to that of the questions that I saw on the CompTIA A Plus exam. So Cert Blaster is a resource that I would most certainly recommend for anybody that's looking for a median in which they could practice for the A Plus. Um, in terms of any other resources I used, I would say that's pretty much it. So Cert Blaster, Professor Messer, and Mike Myers' course were pretty much enough for me to pass the A Plus exam. Like I said before, the 1002 was definitely more difficult than the 1001, and specifically because of the wording of the question. And I would say for the 1002, there was a big emphasis on malware. And so while I'm making this video, I just wanted to let you guys know that you definitely want to memorize the 5-step process for remediating an infected system. And that 5-step process is going to be: number one, you want to research the malware symptoms. If a workstation is infected with malware, do research on the symptoms. Number two is to quarantine that system. So in order to do that, you have to take it off of your company's network or any other network connection that it might be under. This is so you can probably prevent the infection of other devices because obviously malware can travel through the network. Once you take it off the network, you want to disable system restore because malware can carry over from your current Windows instance to other instances that you might try to restore to, which is often why system restore is exemplified as a method that you should not use to try and recover from malware. After you disable system restore, you want to go to the next step, which is to remediate the system. This is where you would run your anti-malware scans. This is where you would update your malware signatures and do essentially anything you would do to try and get rid of that malware from that workstation. Once you do that, then you can schedule additional scans, and you can do essentially more preparatory work to prevent that malware from reinfecting your system and infecting any other systems that haven't been infected as of yet. If you get those 5 steps down, you'll pretty much be good to go. But there is a 6th step that they won't add to their objective, and that would be to educate the end user. I'm not sure why they don't include that, but it's a very important step. And the reason why I say it's important to memorize these steps is because you're going to get questions on these 5 steps, and you may even get a question that says, after you schedule the scans and everything, which was the last step I just mentioned, what do you do after that? And if they ask you that, the answer on the test is probably going to be, educate the end user. And so that's why I wanted to tell you that now. So you may also get a question like this. Let's say there's a user that needs to remediate a workstation. What is the first step that you take? Now, it's important that you thoroughly read the question as I just stated. What is the first step that you should do? Not the step that you should do after you remediate the issue, which, as I just told you before, after you remediate the issue, that's when you want to, perform the scans and everything. So they're talking about the first step that you do in the entire process. The first step that you want to do in the entire process is research the malware symptoms, like I just mentioned. So that would be your answer on the test. And questions like that can determine whether or not you pass or fail. So you definitely want to be careful with every question, read every question thoroughly, um, and just make sure you pick the best answer based on the practice exams out there. Uh, just you really just want to, like I said before, pick the best answer that CompTIA would want you to pick, not what you personally believe may be correct. And I know that might throw some people off. I've actually told some other people this already outside of YouTube, but like I said, the CompTIA is very, very strict, it seems, when it comes to, tech and what they believe is the correct course of action. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys because ultimately I think that might be the reason why I didn't pass the exam the first time, but I was able to pass it the second time. Um, but yeah, like I said, I personally don't believe this is the best method for, hosting a test and then, you know, of course people want to take it and they want to become certified, but the means at which they have to take in order to get, certified, it just doesn't seem very practical to me. But I am by no means trying to bash CompTIA or try to criticize them to the point where they get offended or anything like that on this video, but I do think there are some things that they can do to make this process just a little easier. I know that may not necessarily be their intention or their objective, but I think they can do better. But anyways, uh, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to share with you guys. The next steps for me are going to be probably the Network Plus. Maybe after Network Plus, do Security Plus, and then after that, maybe pursue some Azure certs, probably Fundamentals, and then maybe Azure Administrator. I haven't totally made up my mind on that yet, but yeah, uh, the entire process of getting the A plus was honestly, it wasn't as exhausting as I thought it might have been. Um, I honestly have to say overall it was fairly easy. For the 1002 you just have to be a little bit more careful. But I think for the 1001 I don't think anybody should really have any serious issues passing the 1001. But yeah, I think that's pretty much going to be it for this video. If there's anything that I really think that you should remember coming out of this video, it's that CompTIA is, they're, in my opinion, they're not the best test administrators, and they can do a better job at making their tests, and they could even do a better job at exemplifying this on their objectives that they have on their main website. And the best advice I can give you is take as many practice quizzes, practice exams as you can. Take notes. Whenever you get a question wrong, for example, take notes and try and figure out why you got that question wrong and why certain answer choices are wrong for each question. If you do that, you'll gain a mastery of, the fundamentals as well as conceptually why each of these questions are correct, and that'll help you down the long run as you become a tech in the future. I know it helped me for sure. And like I say, even after becoming certified, it's a long path, and the learning never stops. So the best thing that I can tell you guys today, right here, right now, is that you gotta put the work in. You can't be afraid to learn, and you just gotta keep moving forward. But anyways, I think that's pretty much gonna be it for this video. As usual, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.